And here he is, all the way from his hometown, no expenses spared, Soraman.
Well, thank you very much. Thank you. You're too kind. So today, let's talk about drugs. Yes, please. I'll have 2 of them, 3 of them, and a shot of that. Now, I myself don't take drugs. I mean, when I was a real young man, I think we tried a few things, but that was about it for me. And I think that was the case for a lot of people in my generation. But of course, even in my day, you used to get those people that got hooked. But of course, most of them aren't around anymore. But there is quite a pandemic of drugs around nowadays, and they're synthetic drugs, a lot of them, and they're very strong. And apparently, very addictive. But why do people take mind-altering drugs? To get away from reality. Because basically, reality is a bummer, isn't it? And I guess it's nice to get away to some kind of different land, a nicer place for a while. Even alcohol is a kind of drug that changes your perceptions and things to make things better. That's why people spend loads of money every year going away somewhere on holiday. To get away from the reality of the humdrum of life. And something they're not really talking about is that the femons, now that they've come of age, so to speak, they have a fairly large drug problem. I myself know quite a few femons that are basically alcoholics. But it's not hard to understand how easily femons can get hooked on drugs and alcohol. Because they never ever want to be in the real world, do they? There's also a lot of femons on medication from the doctor. But basically what I think it is they just can't deal with reality. But there's lots of femons out there that don't deal in reality, and they don't even take drugs. In fact, I know loads of femons that live their whole life in some kind of nana land and not the real world at all. And these femons have never taken alcohol or drugs in their life. It's too bad they can't bottle whatever they're on, and then they could sell that for a fortune. Femons seem completely unaware that they have been protected by the man ever since time has begun. It's in his DNA to protect the breeder. And he's done such a good job of it that most femons are completely unaware of the real world. But at least the older femons would last a little bit longer on their own in the wild. Because the new breed of femon today wouldn't even last 5 minutes. I did a job last week for a guy. I had to do his daughter's bedroom. And I had to go in there and take all the stuff down off the walls. And the biggest thing on the walls in that room were big block wooden letters naming the word princess across the wall. And it was the daughter that got them and put them up there. So this disconnection from reality starts at a very young age. So let's lighten things up just a bit. I got a couple of news stories again. And I know it's unusual, but it's about femons. The first one is about a femon who spent 30 years decorating her house. The house is worth probably £250,000, but they can't sell it because it's too much of a mess. But if you look at the item and look at the femon, she looks like she's crazy as a hatter anyway. And anybody who decorates their rooms like that, their brain must be all over the place. But what do you think of the place? Is it nice? I mean, I'm a decorator, a professional decorator, and my God, just a guess of mine, but I don't think she has a man, because you just wake up in any one of those rooms and you just puke. But if you think about it, it's kind of like showing the inside of a femon's brain there, all messy and colors all over the place. No rhyme or reason. Anyway, if you want to make a sort of offer for the house, just let me know. Now, I've got to stop looking at it myself because it's starting to make me feel very uneasy. And the other one is lockdown is easing quite a lot here and people are going out to the bars and pubs and that. But it's funny because all in the media and the newspapers, there doesn't seem to be any men going out. It's all femons. But of course, in reality, it was the men that went to the pubs and the bars, and the women only went there to get the men. But if you take a look at the pictures of the femons, they all look the same. To me, they all look fairly disgusting. To me personally, they should be in the middle of the night, leaning inside a car window. And that's exactly what they dress like. All their advertising is sex, no class. And that's why all they're getting is pumped and dumped. Sometimes in these pictures there's a token man, but he's only been told to stand there and do that. But if you want to know, there are real men going out to the bars and pubs. They're just not showing them, that's all. I mean, men aren't important nowadays, are they? They're only the people that keep the planet running. Then trust me, if the men really weren't going out drinking at the pubs and bars, the femons wouldn't either. And back onto the other subject of femons living in a fantasy land, and men protecting them from the real harshness of the world. I remember seeing in my life lots of marriages where the man protected the femon and she lived in some kind of nana land. And it worked, kinda. But femons don't need men now, do they? And they still want to live in this fantasy land. And that doesn't work. Most modern femons have a rude awakening coming, if they haven't already. Got it? Where are all these old middle-aged femons going to go? Because they won't have a man, and they won't be able to attract them anymore, and reality will come knocking for them. And to be frank with you, I don't care. Tally ho, men!
Yes?
Reality.
I'm not in.